The automotive world works in trends, and right now the hot thing is subcompact crossovers, which is why we have two new for 2021 models that I think are going to be very popular and might even be cross-shop depending on what you're looking for out of a vehicle. Our showdown today is on this 2021 Kia Seltos SX Turbo and this 2021 Chevrolet Trailblazer Activ. Now the pricing's a little different between these, but they do offer a lot for what you might need out of a vehicle, and this is becoming the new family vehicle. As people move away from compact sedans and even some mid-sizes, they're looking at these vehicles to do everything that those cars used to do with the added benefit of all-wheel drive. Now how do these two compare? When it comes to the Kia Seltos, this one as configured has an MSRP of $32,845 Canadian. It comes with a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline-4 engine with 175 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. It uses a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission and is a front-wheel drive biased crossover with all-wheel drive. When it comes to the Chevrolet Trailblazer Activ, this one as configured is $35,578 Canadian. That is a price difference of $2,733. You get a 1.3 liter turbocharged inline-3 engine producing 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. So about 20 horsepower and torque less on the Trailblazer, but it does weigh a little bit less. This uses a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now we're looking at two fully loaded models here. If you were to go for price or go for the entry levels, that would be a lot different, but we've got both that are fully loaded here. Now here are the important specs. On screen you'll see them both in metric and imperial. Basically the exterior dimensions on the Trailblazer are better in every single category. The most important, if you're living somewhere like we do here in Quebec where you get snow, is ground clearance. It is better on the Trailblazer by almost 20 millimeters or almost a full inch. So that could make or break it if it comes to a heavy snowfall for you and you've parked somewhere that you might not be able to get out of. But what's interesting when you look at the interior dimensions, things are slightly different. The headroom in the front, at least, is better when it comes to the Chevrolet Trailblazer. It's the same in the rear compared to both vehicles, but then essentially the rest of the interior dimensions are bigger when it comes to the Kia Seltos, including the cargo volume. You can put more in the back, the trunk, than you can on the Trailblazer. So it's interesting that the Trailblazer is a bigger vehicle from the outside, but you actually get more functional interior space when it comes to the Seltos. Now, aside from the engines and transmissions, why would you consider either one of these over the other? Well, there's a couple key features that come with the Kia Seltos that might entice you over to it. It has a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated front seats, and heated outboard rear seats. Kia uses their 10.25-inch infotainment system with wireless phone charging, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, built-in navigation, and Sirius XM radio. You only have a regular sunroof, but for the most part you have all the interior features that you ultimately need out of a vehicle. There's single-zone climate control on both vehicles, but the Kia has rear air vents in the center console for better rear passenger airflow. This Seltos SX Turbo also has a color head-up display with a slightly larger 7-inch computer cluster screen for the driver. Now, what do you get on the Trailblazer over the Seltos? Well, it has a power opening rear liftgate with foot activated controls. It's something that we don't usually find in the subcompact segment. You also have a large panoramic sunroof up top, and they say that they use an HD backup camera, though I find that the fisheye on it is a little too great. It's hard to tell the difference for when you're backing up. Chevrolet also advertises their 8-inch infotainment system as being an HD resolution with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto with a wireless phone charger, which are nice things to have. You don't get embedded navigation, but you have Sirius XM and a Bose audio system like the Kia Seltos. Seating position for both vehicles is pretty good, and the interior layouts for both are nice. Plus, the exteriors on either vehicle look really good. I have to say that they are attractive vehicles in their own right. If you want something funky and new, go with the Kia Seltos. If you want something that looks a lot like what Chevrolet is offering across their board, but in a nice, small, elegant package, then go for the Trailblazer. Both are great looking and they're pretty affordable. But the most important thing when it comes to either of these subcompact crossovers is how they drive, perform, and handle on the road. So let's get behind the wheel, starting with the Kia Seltos, and find out everything about that, and then we'll jump into the Trailblazer and wrap up our showdown to figure out which subcompact crossover might be the next one for you. There are so many crucial factors when it comes to comparing two vehicles in a highly competitive segment like this. We've gone over the exterior stuff. The dimensions are important. Exterior-wise, the Chevrolet is a little bit bigger. Interior space, though, you get a little bit more here on the Kia Seltos. Now, fuel economy is interesting. We'll talk about it when we do our drive in the Chevrolet, but just to keep you in mind, this did 7 liters per 100 kilometers on our 100 kilometer test loop. US MPG is below, and we'll talk about how that compares. But the thing that people will be the most interested in is how they are to drive and live with. That's what's important. Sure, specifications are important details, but yeah, most people I don't think are necessarily going into the specs of either car unless they absolutely need something specific. They're going to be looking at the segment and looking at price and available features. The interior here is what we would come to expect from the South Korean manufacturers. Now, it makes sense. Everything's laid out well. We have the large 10.25-inch infotainment system. Having built-in navigation is nice. You don't have to rely on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but if you do want to use that, it is through a wire. You do have a cell phone charger. It's Qi compatible, which is great. Then everything else that you would want at this price point is there. Heated and ventilated front seats and heated steering wheel are nice for all-around climate comfort, so that if it's cold out, you keep your hands warm and your bottom, which is something that's missing out on the Trailblazer. I don't know why there's no heated steering wheel. Ventilated seats are fine that they don't have it. Not every vehicle in this segment does, but a heated steering wheel is kind of becoming standard kit here in Canada, and not having one is very strange. Now, you could argue, well, you know, one of them's an American manufacturer, so I guess that's why, but both are actually built in South Korea, because the Chevrolet Trailblazer is built by GM Korea. Used to be Daewoo. It is built and imported here, so perhaps that's why the price is more, despite the Kia Seltos also coming from Korea. But the difference is they're probably not going to sell as many from Chevrolet as the Seltos will, so it's a little cheaper probably for Kia to import all of these vehicles, whereas Chevy's only importing the Trailblazer. And if they're not going to sell a whole lot, it's going to raise the price of it in this market. So that's why we always state at the beginning that these prices are in Canadian dollars, because kit is so different. Different features are available in different markets, but then also price. So while it might be pricier here, about $2,700 Canadian, might not be the case wherever you live. But for the most part, you're getting what you would expect in this segment. The panoramic sunroof on the Chevy is a nice feature to have, and the power liftgate, those are really the only major differences that you get, major pluses on that, on top of wireless CarPlay. Let's talk about how this vehicle performs, handles, and drives on the road, because it is really good. I really like driving the Seltos. Road noise is a little loud for what I would like. We'll notice that when we get into the Chevy, that it is quieter, but comfort is good for a subcompact crossover. Space is good. The engine performance is there. I keep this in smart mode. I really don't put it into sport mode. I don't need to. I find it picks up speed without any issue. And even if I have my whole family, my wife and my daughter in here, even with some cargo, there's no issues whatsoever. The subcompact crossover is quickly becoming the new family vehicle. Gone are the days of compact and mid-size sedans. Unfortunately, this is what buyers want. They want something that looks good, fits into that SUV design language, and has most of the features that people need out of a day-to-day life. The major loss when it comes to the Seltos is fuel economy does take a hit over the Chevrolet, but for the most part, you're getting everything that you would want at the price point. It's really hard to beat this at about $32,000 Canadian. I mean, the fact that they can sell this for this price is incredible, because you do get so much car for not a whole lot. I mean, if you think about $32,000, that's like a fully loaded compact sedan, and that doesn't even include all-wheel drive. So you're getting a lot of car for not a whole lot of money, and everything about this works out really well. It's going to be really tough for the Chevrolet to win me over, and that's probably why I see tons of Seltos on the road. I mean, it's the new hot car here in Quebec, so usually when something new comes out, people are jumping on it, but the Trailblazer is new as well, and I couldn't tell you the last time I saw one. So I think we need to jump into that. We'll take it on its road test, talk about everything about it, and see if we can figure out which one of these subcompact crossovers you should spend your money on if you're in the market for it. Let's start off with fuel economy right away. This 2021 Chevrolet Trailblazer completed our 100-kilometer test loop in 5.9 liters per 100 kilometers. That's 1.1 liters better than the Kia Seltos. Now there's a number of reasons for that. This is a smaller engine, one fewer cylinder, and 0.3 liters of displacement. But also, this has a physical button to turn off the all-wheel drive system. Unlike the Kia Seltos, which you can either lock it in all-wheel drive or keep it in automatic mode, with this vehicle, you can tell it, I want it to use all-wheel drive when needed or only front-wheel drive. So during our road test, it was clear weather. Of course, I'm going to have it in front-wheel drive only mode. And that's one of the reasons why it was so good. This is like compact sedan level in terms of fuel economy. This also uses a 9-speed automatic transmission versus the 7-speed dual clutch on the Kia Seltos. Now, normally a dual clutch transmission shifts better, but I do find on the Kia that it's not right where it needs to be. Coming off the line, it'll shift too quickly, so you're going into second at about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour, whereas this 9-speed is pretty smooth. I have no issues with it. It shifts into gear well, and the added gears help with fuel economy. So those are a number of the reasons why I feel that this did better on our test loop. It's a lighter vehicle as well. That always helps. So there's a number of factors there. If you're going purely for fuel economy, the Trailblazer might be the way to go. Also, I mentioned that the interior road noise was better on this, and it's true. After jumping out of the Seltos into this, I can feel that it's just a little bit better. Same with the ride. The ride's just a tiny bit softer. It's hard to really notice, but if you're driving them back to back, you can tell. So ride is good. Interior noise levels are good. I find that the space and everything in here is fine, despite on paper it being a little bit smaller than the Seltos. But overall, you're going to be buying either of these mostly on price and features. And that's where the Trailblazer starts to show its problems. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the kit and everything on here, but we do live in Canada. Not having a heated steering wheel is a huge miss, huge miss on this top end trim. Now, I know in a lot of places in the States, I mean, they don't even offer heated seats, so some of you might be thinking, well, why are you complaining? But I mean, most cars today offer heated steering wheels. In fact, a lot of entry levels have them as standard here in Canada, so not having it is a miss. Same thing with the rear outboard heated seats and the center console vent, not on this vehicle. So this would be a fine car if you're on your own. Maybe one or two people, you're only using the front two seats, and the rear seats won't get too much action, because if you're back there and it's cold, it might not be as comfortable. This might be a better vehicle if you're living in a warmer climate. But the performance on this Trailblazer has been surprising. If you watch our episode of Test Drive Spotlight on this car, I say that it really is surprising how peppy this little engine is. It's a small engine, but despite that, it's actually worked out pretty well. Now, I don't do drag racing and anything here. I can't even really do good performance testing on this show. As one person without the equipment, it's impossible to get accurate readings. But I would say that it'd probably be pretty close if we had this and the Seltos side by side. But nobody's buying this car for 0 to 100 kilometer hour times. It's meant to be driven in the town, going back and forth to work and school. It's a commuter vehicle. I would say that this would be better if you live in the city. You don't do too much highway, just because, you know, with the smaller engine, it's more of a city car. But if you're looking for something that can fit your family, this is now the norm. People are looking at these vehicles more now than they were before. The subcompact cars are almost all extinct. People are going towards these. Even compact and mid-size sedans, as we always talk about here on Test Drive, are starting to go extinct. So if you want something that is about as affordable as can get and still have enough space for everybody in your family, then this is going to be the way to go. It's just when we compare it side by side, that's where things become a bit of a problem for this Chevrolet, because most of the time when we're doing a showdown, I've got two vehicles that have enough of the same features or same price that you can make the argument that, you know, here's the one that you would take if this is the lifestyle you have, or this one. But in this case, that's a lot tougher, because why would you consider this? It's $2,700 more than the Kia Seltos. And I wouldn't say there's $2,700 worth of equipment or features or pluses on this vehicle to make it worth that price, because there's a number of cost-cutting measures here compared to the Seltos. We have incandescent light bulbs on the interior. The front headlights, it's not full LED because the high beams are actually halogen, so I would just skip out on using the high beams altogether on this vehicle. They are trash. And then, you know, again, those small features that we talked about that are real comfort and convenience on other vehicles that just don't exist here. So that's the problem I'm having. I can't justify the $2,700 price difference. Sure, you are going to be saving in fuel. If you're driving the same way that we do on our test loop and you're saving that 1.1 liters per 100 kilometers all the time, it will take you a considerable amount of time to make back that $2,700 price difference. And even if you take off some of the features off this, some of the packaging, you're still left with a vehicle that is more expensive than most of the other cars in this segment. So if it's my money, there's really no doubt about it. It's black and white. I'm taking the Kia Seltos. There isn't much reason to go for this unless you absolutely love GM, or there's something about this that you need to have. If you need to have that rear opening liftgate perhaps, then this is the way to go. But when it comes to this showdown, there's no doubt about it. The Seltos is the clear winner. Clear winner. Now, if you want to know more about either one of these cars, we always have an episode of Test Drive Snapshot or Spotlight on them. We've done a bit of testing with the Seltos as we have it as a long-term vehicle, and you can watch the full episode of Test Drive Spotlight on this car. You can wait until the end. The links will be at the end of this video, or we'll have scattered them throughout in the top cards on YouTube. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.